All right, so in ecology, we've already talked about how energy is flowing through an ecosystem or throughout species in an ecosystem. And now we're going to be talking about these different levels of organization in an ecosystem. So, interactions can happen at many different levels. People can study, ecologists down here at the bottom, ecologists study nature on different levels. So there's some from all the way from an individual organism all the way to the entire biosphere, the entire world as a whole. Five major ones that you're going to write down in your notes. The first one is being we can study an individual inside of a level of organization. The next thing we can study is the population. So that'd be the next level up, the population of that one individual. So if we're looking at this moose here in the corner of the picture, what we would be looking at after talking about him would be the population of moose or meese, whatever it is. Next, it would be the community. You're going to write that one down. We'll talk about each one of these individually in a second, but then the ecosystem, and then lastly, the biosphere, or what we call the biome, which would be in the entire world. Community and ecosystem, we'll talk about here in a second. So, as an organism, if we're just looking at this buffalo right here in the corner, that would just be the individual organism that we are studying. That would be our individual level. The population can be another level. So, the whole population of only or the group of the same species is what you're going to write down in your notes of only the buffalo. So, for your example, give one specific same group of species living in the same area. And again, in this part, it's only biotic. Community, that could be a group of different populations living together in the same area. So the buffalo, the antelope, all the grass, all the trees, that would be a whole community of all living things. And then lastly, would be the entire ecosystem, including the climate, the soil, the water in a total given area. That would be both biotic and abiotic. That would be our last level, aside from the entire world, including the space, which would be right up here in the corner. That would be our biosphere. So, based on that quick little discussion about all of that, what is the level of organization inside of this circle, which would be just the antelope? What do you think that may be? You should have said that just the antelope are a population. We consider those just a population because they are a group of the same species in this entire habitat for that picture. On your notes, I have a couple of questions there. What do you think the bison is? This bison right here laying on its back, what is that considered? If the antelope, there are multiple in here, we consider that a population. This would just be considered an individual. The prairie dog, which is sitting right here, right underneath the circle, what is that considered? Um, all of the animals in this picture, what would they be considered? And then lastly, something that you should be able to recognize on your own, what is this entire picture? What level of organization is this entire picture? Hopefully you've written it all down, but this bison right here in the corner would be an individual in this area, just an individual organism. The prairie dog is an individual organism again. All of the animals would be a community. And then lastly, this entire picture is as our ecosystem, including the sky, the clouds, the climate. All right. Our last couple things I want to talk about is these two definition words, and you're going to write them down. But a habitat and a niche. Habitat is where an organism lives, both biotic and abiotic factors. So, if we're thinking about this, we would think about or some type of organism's address. Address 1234 um, on Pearl Street. Next one would be niche. Niche is how a species lives within that habitat. So, if we were thinking about this in another metaphor, it would be the organism's job in its habitat. So, habitat for us right now inside of this classroom would be that all of us if we lived here in this classroom would have the same habitat, but our niche, comparing mine to yours, would be different. Mine, how I live in this habitat would be, this is my job, this is my teaching job, and so I'm supposed to teach you. Whereas your niche would be that you're supposed to learn. You're supposed to learn as much information as you can. So our niche is different, but the habitat can be the same. So on the back of your notes, I want you to write this. It's the last little thing that you have to do. But draw a Venn diagram here and put these different things in there. Habitat will be these specific things. What we need in our area, how we live or where we live. Over here would be how we live, and then how it is similar right there in the center. Go ahead and fill those things out. And then my last little thing here would be that these organisms, this is just another example, but all of these birds have the same habitat. They all live in the same area. They have the same address to live at, but they have a different niche. The reason being is because they have different jobs. They eat different things. This flamingo here, it says it's going to eat small crustaceans and vegetables that are down in the mud, whereas this duck feeds on the aquatic plants. These avocets actually eat small invertebrates like insects and stuff, and moving on, so forth. So organisms can have the same habitat and live in the same area, but we cannot have the same niche and live in the same area. If we had the same niche as other organisms in our area, then somebody would end up extinct, and that would not be okay.